Hey folks, welcome into the Cam Rogers Show on this Wednesday morning. It is May 23rd, 2018. I am Cam Rogers. We thank you for tuning in to this program, jam-packed with NFL news, rumors, and analysis. It's a great show on tap for you guys. Let's take a look at the rundown here. So we're going to start things off with the latest NFL headlines. Of course, Belichick versus Brady. That continues. And oh my gracious, Bill Belichick with such a fun soundbite that I will be talking about here today, discussing Tom Brady, or the lack thereof, shall we say. And there is news that perhaps teams could be penalized 15 yards if players kneel during the national anthem. What do I mean? I'll tell you later in the show. Plus, 5 breakout teams for the 2018 NFL season. Hint, hint. People in Texas and maybe the Bay Area will be pretty happy when I get to that segment. 5 sleepers for the NFL draft. Tom Downey will come alongside to break those down. And then a final word about another Plaque fail. And you guys may recall the Cristiano Ronaldo plaque that just looked nothing like him. Yeah, we got another situation like that. I'll tell you about it at the end of the program. We are presented by AutoList. Head on to Autolist.com. Get that car shopping done in a flash. It's a great website. Find any new or used car that you could possibly want. Do not go to the car dealership. You are wasting your time, and that is never a good thing. Autolist.com is the way to go. All right, folks, so today's top story here on the Cam Rogers Show, it centers on Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick, or at least that's how I'm going to frame it. So Bill Belichick, of course, at OTAs with the Patriots yesterday, speaking to the media, and classic Boston media, because they can't help themselves, asking about Tom Brady. Now, that's totally fine because I would have done the same thing. So here's what Bill Belichick said about Brady's absence. I'm not going to talk about people who aren't here. Ooh, yikes. Also added the typical Bill Belichick canned answer, quote, "The guys who are here are improving, working hard. That's who we're going to focus on." So Brady hasn't been attending Patriots OTAs, which is and are, of course, voluntary, so he doesn't actually have to be there. He does have to be at the mandatory minicamp next month. Now, a little note came through the wires this morning. Robert Kraft believes that Tom Brady will be present for mandatory minicamp because if he isn't, he will be subject to fines and further punishment, etc. So Bill Belichick also refused to talk about Rob Gronkowski, who's looking for a new contract deal. He has not been at OTAs either. So, first of all, why is Robert Kraft playing messenger for Tom Brady, number one? Number two, somebody in the comments section actually on my shared post recently on my Cam Rogers Facebook page said, I actually haven't heard a firm confirmation that Tom Brady is going to play in 2018. I got you covered on that one. He will be playing in 2018, even though he hasn't come out and made some grand announcement or anything like that. But this is all just so hilarious to me. And for all you non-Patriots fans out there, I'm sure it's hilarious to you too. Because you have Bill Belichick all pouty here saying, oh, I'm not going to talk about the people who aren't here. And perhaps that is a slight to Tom Brady, maybe not. And then you have Tom Brady who is trying to, I think, do a little jab at Bill Belichick for one, not really allowing the players to correspond with Alex Guerrero, the training coach of Tom Brady, and, go through the process of rehab with him. Number two, because of the Malcolm Butler benching in Super Bowl 52. So Tom Brady's trying to send a little message here. Bill Belichick is trying to counterpunch a little bit, it appears, with the statement that he made yesterday. So I am actually in Tom Brady's camp in terms of this little friction going on within the Patriots organization. He has every right to be mad at Bill Belichick for benching Malcolm Butler because Bill made a major mistake by doing that. Tom Brady has every right to be annoyed with Bill Belichick for being so petty about the Alex Guerrero situation. Tom Brady has every right to skip OTAs because they are voluntary, and that means they're not required. So are Brady and Gronk tag teaming this whole ordeal here? Are Brady and Gronk texting each other right now? Hey, Bill Belichick made a major mistake in Super Bowl 52. Let's show him a little something here by not showing up to OTAs and send a little message here with the Patriots and the chemistry that seems to be crumbling before our eyes a little bit right now. So What is the root of this? And I've talked about it many times on the Cam Show, is that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and the differential in their personalities just cannot mesh anymore. At least that's how I feel. And maybe this is the beginning of the crumbling of the New England Patriots dynasty, of the franchise, paving the way for new teams in the AFC to cement themselves as playoff contenders. So, is the message Brady is trying to send here possibly going to be damaging for the Patriots long term? And I think that could be the main issue here with New England. I know Tom Brady may want to slight Bill Belichick a little bit here, but could it have long-standing repercussions for the 2018 season? That's what I want to know. And is this truly the beginning of the downward spiral between Belichick and Brady? I think Brady and Kraft are fine. I think Belichick and Kraft are fine as well. It's Brady and Belichick where I think the friction is really coming about right now. So, is the Patriots dynasty beginning to crumble? We have comments flowing in. We will show them on the broadcast. Probably this season is one comment that is coming in, and I'd have to agree with that one. I think this is the kickstart of the erosion, if you will, of the Patriots dynasty there. So, we'll see what happens. Tom Brady will be present for mandatory minicamp in June. So that's good news for Patriots fans. But let me say this. All you Patriots fans out there have to be very careful because you're walking on fragile ground right now in terms of the Patriots' friction that is getting a lot worse by the day, and more specifically with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Brady, Belichick, two different personalities. They've worked before because they both have the ultimate goal of winning, but is this finally the turning point? Is there going to be a big fat chasm in the middle of these two now where the Patriots simply cannot get back together with the chemistry and Tom Brady not showing up for OTAs? Am I blowing this out of proportion? Perhaps, but it's fodder for all of you guys to think about because this has never happened before. So this is unprecedented stuff here. Tom Brady has never skipped OTAs in the last like 7 years. So think about it. Who knows? The AFC could be wide open. All right, let's continue on with the latest NFL headlines, and it ain't a good one for Chargers fans. Hunter Henry has torn his ACL. He will get a second opinion today, but he is likely done for the year. Really, really tough news. You hate to see this, especially on the first day of OTAs, for crying out loud. It was a non-contact injury for Hunter Henry. Now, the Chargers are expected to look into the grizzled veteran himself, Antonio Gates, 37 years young there, and the initial reports this offseason were that the Chargers were not going to go back and sign Antonio Gates and bring him back. Now they might be forced to, with Hunter Henry likely done for the year. Was expected to have a big-time season in 2018, Henry was, with an expanded role there at tight end. Finished 2017 with 45 catches, 579 receiving yards, and 4 scores. The Chargers went 7-1 in games in which he was targeted at least 5 times. 0-6, by the way, when he was not. So Hunter Henry, big piece of that offense, and despite the injury there, I will be talking about the Chargers later in a little segment about breakout teams for the NFL season. All right. Teddy Bridgewater, he is active in Jets OTAs, so there was some thought that maybe the Jets would take it slow with Teddy, but he is throwing, followed Josh McCown in quarterback drills yesterday. Sam Darnold was third in the order, of course, the first-round pick there for New York. And Teddy Bridgewater, the sample size has been pretty small for him in terms of regular season snaps since August of 2016. Of course, he did appear in that Cincinnati Bengals game for the Minnesota Vikings last year, more of a symbolic thing because Teddy was not in for very long. Now, I have said this before, the quarterback battle for the Jets, one of the more interesting storylines to watch, at least within the New York media, because it's Josh McCown, the stopgap guy. It's Sam Darnold, the future of the Jets franchise, you would think. And then it's Teddy Bridgewater, just kind of in purgatory, if you will, where we really don't know where he fits in this offense and in the future plans for the New York Jets. Now, we actually recently had on our NFL Daily Show Teddy Bridgewater as a possible roster cut. That ain't gonna happen because this guy got traded. Christian Hackenberg is now a member of the Oakland Raiders. and the Jets get a conditional 7th-round pick for 2019. Hackenberg, third-year quarterback, and he will join E.J. Manuel, Connor Cook, and Derek Carr on the depth chart. Hackenberg completed just 54.8% of his passes over his final 2 seasons with the Penn State Nittany Lions, and actually had a really good freshman year. That's kind of how he came to be, really, in the national spotlight. After 2 years under Todd Bowles, Christian Hackenberg has yet to throw a regular season pass. And we're talking about a guy in Bryce Petty who got a fair share sample size of starts there for the Jets. Hackenberg never had his chance. Oh, by the way, Hackenberg changed his throwing motion, folks, and Todd Bowles had no idea about it. So communication below average between Todd Bowles and Christian Hackenberg, although Todd Bowles has been publicly saying that no regrets for the Jets in drafting Christian Hackenberg, which is just hilarious to me. I'm sure it's hilarious to you guys. Like, you go out and get this guy via the draft, you invest in him, and perhaps draft him higher than where he should have been, and you eventually trade him without ever trotting him out onto the football field during the regular season. But no regrets. No regrets at all, folks. So Hackenberg is headed to the Bay Area. He'll be playing with the Oakland Raiders. Should be interesting to see how he fits on that depth chart. Can he beat out Connor Cook or E.J. Manuel? I think maybe he could beat out Connor Cook. We'll see. Let's go to some OTAs news. Carlos Dunlap not present for the first day of OTAs for the Cincinnati Bengals. He is entering his final year of the 6-year, $40.6 million extension that he had. Will be paid $7 million this season. Forfeited $300,000 in workout bonuses by not attending the earlier workouts, the voluntary workouts, etc. By the way, OTAs are indeed voluntary. So Carlos Dunlap not present for the Cincinnati Bengals. How about for the Dallas Cowboys? This came through just before the show. Zack Martin not present for the first day of OTAs for the Dallas Cowboys, even though he's been working out with teammates since the captain's workouts more than a month before the official start of the offseason program in April. Martin is set to play this season on the 5th-year option worth $9.3 million, but numerous reports suggest that the Cowboys are willing to make Zack Martin the highest-paid guard in the National Football League, and Andrew Norwell signed the highest average per-year deal for a guard with the Jacksonville Jaguars at $13.3 million. Kevin Zeitler got that big fat contract a couple of years ago with the Cleveland Browns. So Zack Martin wants to get into Zeitler territory, if not even more so than that. And rightfully so, Zack Martin, outside of maybe David DeCastro, the best guard run blocking wise in the National Football League. So he deserves to get paid. He's sitting out of OTAs, and heck, power to him. Voluntary, he's an elite player, doesn't need to be there. I'm sure he's working out, so he's fine. All right, Terrell Pryor, some injury news here. Injured his ankle. He has not been participating in practices and OTAs for the Jets. His ankle actually ended his 2017 season with the Redskins, required surgery to repair it. 2017 was obviously not a good year for Terrell Pryor. 20 passes in 9 games, or excuse me, 20 receptions in 9 games. He did have over 1,000 yards in 2016 off 77 catches. That was the big-time campaign for him with the Cleveland Browns, but with the Washington Redskins, just never worked for him. Injuries were a problem. Chemistry with Kirk Cousins was a problem. The scheme was a major issue for Washington as well. It wasn't just Pryor. It wasn't just Kirk Cousins. So Terrell, as of now, more of a depth guy at wide receiver. The Jets do have Jermaine Kearse and Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa coming back from injury as well. Like him a lot. He's a really good player when he is healthy. So Terrell Pryor going through some ankle rehab, if you will. All right, let's continue on here. And how about this? NFL teams viewed Colin Kaepernick as a starting quarterback in 2017. This according to Pro Football Talk. And through internal franchise documents and testimonies from witnesses. Quote, football reasons is no longer a narrative, folks. It cannot be used. I don't want to hear it ever again. Colin Kaepernick is not in the NFL due to football reasons. We can officially put the nail in the coffin in terms of that narrative being false. Kind of like LeBron James is not clutch. We could put that into the coffin as well. In fact, we could have done that years ago. Colin Kaepernick is at least a quarterback number 2 for an NFL team out there. All right, so at best, a starting caliber quarterback. And teams apparently viewed him as such for 2017. So we're talking about a guy who has starting caliber credentials, who is currently unemployed, and I understand he has an ongoing grievance case against the NFL, alleging that all 32 NFL owners colluded against him to keep him out of the league. Say what you want about this national anthem debate here, but the idea that his play on the field is the reason he's not on a team is just factually incorrect, folks. I mean, it's just wrong. And as you see here on your screen, Kaepernick continues to go along with this grievance case, bringing in some high-profile executives and coaches to be deposed. Robert Kraft, Bob McNair, John Elway, Roger Goodell, John Harbaugh, Pete Carroll as well, John Schneider, the GM of the Seahawks. So the situation continues to look dire and dire and dire for Colin Kaepernick to be a starting quarterback in the NFL yet again. Will it ever happen? I honestly don't know. And I want to hear from you guys in the comments section here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. It's a worthy discussion. Perhaps the Alliance of American Football or the XFL isn't too far behind for signing Colin Kaepernick and bringing him on as a quarterback in one of those leagues. But in terms of the NFL, folks, I don't have any answer for you, so I want you guys to answer me. All right, so let's continue on here, and we'll talk about the national anthem debate, because the NFL owners' meetings are going on right now, Roger Goodell at the center of it all, and the owners are planning on figuring out some sort of solution to how to go about the national anthem in 2018. So, perhaps could return to the pre-2009 approach where they just keep the players in the locker room until the anthem is over, and that's that. However, this came through yesterday in terms of a decision. Albert Breer tweeted the following. How about this? Home teams decide whether teams come out for the anthem. If teams do come out for the national anthem, teams could be assessed a 15-yard penalty if players are kneeling. So we could be in a situation where teams are penalized 15 yards for one player kneeling during the national anthem if the home team decides, hey, let's send the players out. Full stop. This is a god-awful idea. And I'm not saying that in the sense that I'm taking a position on this debate. It's just a bad idea from a PR standpoint, from a chemistry standpoint, because here's what's going to happen. This is going to create uproar from a macro perspective, number one, from the fans and the supporters perhaps for Colin Kaepernick and the supporters for standing during the national anthem. It's going to create tensions from a micro perspective as well within the locker room, right? Think about it. All right, so let's say, for example, Eric Reid is signed by the Cincinnati Bengals. He was taken in by the Bengals a couple of months ago. The Bengals are at home. They decide to bring the players out for the national anthem. Eric Reid still decides to kneel during the national anthem. The Cincinnati Bengals are assessed a 15-yard penalty. So now the repercussions are actually on the field during a game. We're talking about a 15-yard penalty, something that equates to a helmet-to-helmet hit. And you're telling me this is a good idea? What I'm saying here is, think about it. Now, the players on the Cincinnati Bengals within that team are going to be feuding, because you're going to have people on that team that support standing, you're going to have people on that team that support kneeling, for the sake of this discussion, Eric Reid. So then you have tensions between Eric Reid's camp on the Bengals, for this example, and the other side of things where the Bengals players support standing. Why are we doing this? Because this is just not a good idea. And as always, I want to hear from you guys. If you were an NFL owner, all right, so pretend you're a big-time executive in the NFL. You own a team. Would you ban or allow kneeling during the national anthem? Hit me up on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. We got Michael chiming in. Imagine both sides take a knee, both penalties offset. Now you're thinking, Michael, so maybe there could be some tag teaming between a couple of players on both teams. You just have kneeling on one side, kneeling on the other. Can you imagine, by the way, if you're a referee? Illegal kneeling. Bengals, illegal kneeling. Raiders, both penalties offset. Literally nothing happens. Let's play the game. Like, this is just not a good idea, guys. And I'm literally not making this up. This is from Albert Breer of the Monday Morning Quarterback, that this is literally being discussed as we sit here on the broadcast. It just baffles me. So here's the other thing. Some teams will be labeled as kneelers, and other teams are going to be labeled as standers. So we're just going to get these stereotypes now that create more division within the NFL, and stereotypes typically aren't a good thing. So to have that for the NFL teams out there, I just don't think it's the right way to go about it. So the current rule right now, players are not required to stand during the national anthem, although they are strongly encouraged. So right now, the NFL owners are wrapping up their meetings today. We could have a decision, a solution today about what the new policy is. I will tell you this, folks. If the policy is home teams decide whether the players come out, and you could be assessed a 15-yard penalty if you kneel, it's going to be a big fat mess. So it can't happen. I hope it doesn't happen because it's going to create more division, more problems, and that's exactly where we don't want to go. So stay tuned on what that decision could be. All right, let's continue on. Speaking of NFL owners, we got a new one officially. So David Tepper is now the Panthers owner, voted on by the rest of the owners out there in the NFL as we go throughout these meetings. So the national anthem isn't the only thing being discussed. So club owners have voted unanimously to bring Tepper in. And how about this? $2.275 billion. Most paid for a North American sports franchise. And Tepper becomes one of the league's wealthiest owners there. So good for the Carolina Panthers. Number one, because from a continuity standpoint, they stay in Carolina, keep the head coach, keep the GM, all that good stuff. I like to see that. I don't like to see teams move because I feel bad for the fans and all that. So Tepper, new owner there for the Carolina Panthers. How about Johnny Manziel saying this? He actually was close to an NFL deal. At least that's what he believes, which is an interesting story. He said, quote, "I did reach out and talk to multiple teams and coaches I had met in my first couple years in the league." So he went on to sign with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, of course, a team in the CFL. It's a 2-year deal. He didn't want to hurt his opportunity in the CFL by engaging in further negotiations and discussions with NFL teams. So back to my original topic sentence here on the Johnny Manziel story from Monday. Playing the long game, folks. You got to love it. He's not rushing into things, into the NFL and all this stuff. He is taking it slow, and he understands it's going to be a step-by-step process to get back to, heck, Texas A&M form. I mean, let's be serious. We haven't seen Johnny football since his college days, to be honest with you. All right, so let me know in comments, did Johnny Manziel make the right choice going to the CFL? Let me know. Would you guys have rather seen him in the NFL? And I understand if you are a team with a fan of a team with a big-time quarterback problem, i.e. maybe the Denver Broncos. Who knows how Case Keenum will pay it out, for example. So there you go. Let me know, and I'll be tracking what you guys say. All right. This may not seem like a big story, but it kind of is. The Giants have signed wide receiver Russell Shepard. So it's a 1-year deal worth $1.3 million, up to $2 million with incentives there. So he was released by the Panthers last week. Career, only 47 receptions, 634 yards, and 4 touchdowns there. So not a big-time sample size of success. Why is this a story? Because Dez Bryant was perhaps waiting for a call from Dave Gettleman or the Giants leadership to go ahead and join that team. And if the Giants go out and sign Russell Shepard, that probably means Dez Bryant is not going to the Big Apple. All right, so that's why I'm talking about this story here. So X off the Giants, who, by the way, were never on my top 5 teams list because I just never thought it made a lot of sense from a salary cap standpoint, number 1, and there was just like zero interest from the Giants side of things, number 2. So just to throw out a couple of teams I want you guys to think about here, maybe the Colts, maybe the Texans. New England, still my number 1 team, though, for Dez Bryant. But X out the New York Giants because Russell Shepard replaces Brandon Marshall, LOL. Both these wide receivers are not very good. But there you go. He's now a member of the Giants there. How about this really interesting story about Brett Favre? Revealed he went to rehab due to an addiction. Actually went 3 times. Had to seek inpatient treatment for addiction to painkillers and alcohol. And we're talking about a 20-year career for this guy in the NFL for 4 different teams. And it just goes to show, folks, that you never really know what's happening behind the scenes. Brett Favre was going through these issues while he was playing, you know, and so you can never really fathom it until the player or the person actually talks about it. And it's crazy to think about because, of course, Brett Favre had just an incredible career playing the quarterback position. Kind of to draw a pop culture comparison here, Matthew Perry of Friends was apparently addicted to drugs for like 5 seasons of Friends, and none of us knew. So it's kind of like the same deal. You just never know with this stuff. So Brett Favre went through rehab 3 times during his playing career. All right, folks, let's continue on. Ben Roethlisberger is mentoring Mason Rudolph. Well, that's great news there because originally he wasn't going to, and he was all pouty about it, saying that, why did we draft Mason Rudolph when we could draft somebody to win now? That was the original comment from Ben Roethlisberger when he went on a local Pittsburgh sports radio station. So this is good news. Now, Rudolph said he thought Roethlisberger wouldn't mentor him at first and tried to play a little nice here and thought like, all right, well, I would have said the same thing if I was Ben Roethlisberger. And, of course, Ben saying that his original statements were taken out of context and all this stuff, blah, 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 PR, whatever. So Ben Roethlisberger is mentoring Mason Rudolph. It makes sense. Like, what are you going to do? Just ignore him, give him the cold shoulder throughout OTAs and then mandatory minicamp and then training camp and then preseason? Like, eventually you're going to have to converse. So you might as well just do it as early as you can. Now, Ben Roethlisberger, I've harped on him a couple of times on this show about kind of being a bit of a whiner, a little bit dramatic. But is he a Super Bowl caliber quarterback? I will tell you this. Yes, he is. Will he win another Super Bowl in his career? I don't think so. But let me know in this reaction poll. Give me a heart for definitely. Give me a like for no chance. Be sure to explain upon yourselves in the comments section on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. But Ben Roethlisberger mentoring Mason Rudolph at OTAs. Oh, isn't that just glorious that they're getting along? Good stuff there. Latest NFL headlines right there on the Cam Rogers Show. We are presented by Autolist. Head on to Autolist.com. Get that car shopping done in a very efficient way. I'm telling you, new and used cars, it's the way to go. Do not go to the car dealership. Autolist.com saves you all the time in the world. Heck, bookmark the website when you go on, because that's all you'll need for your future car endeavors. You're watching the Cam Rogers Show. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Let me know what you think about the show. So, cool segment here, folks. I've got my 5 breakout teams for the 2018 NFL season. Before I get to those teams, I do want to define and give you guys some context in terms of what breakout means in my eyes. So we're talking about recent ineffectiveness, lack of success, potential to emerge as perhaps a Super Bowl contender. Now, doesn't have to be coming off a non-playoff season. So that qualifies a couple of teams there that, you know, aren't as obvious as Super Bowl contenders. And then typically not a team that is highly regarded by the Vegas odds makers out there. So that's really the rundown there of breakouts. Let's get to my team number 5 for breakout squads in 2018. Full send for the Dallas Cowboys. So let me first start with the following. You're getting a full 16-game slate from Ezekiel Elliott, you would assume. And that means so much to this team from a game plan standpoint, the Dallas Cowboys are the ultimate game plan team on offense for 2018. Why is that? Because Dak Prescott cannot be throwing the football 35 to 40 times. The Cowboys have to run the rock, establish the line of scrimmage, do the play action off of that. And they're going to do that well, and that's why they're in my breakout column here. So running the football is the bread and butter of the Dallas Cowboys. They will do that just fine. Now, you got to utilize the interior of this offensive line here, and I think they will do that, and that's why I like the Dallas Cowboys a lot here, is you got Frederick on the interior as well as Zack Martin. You insert Connor Williams as well out of Texas, who I think could be a really fun player. So now you got the interior of that offensive line solidified. You run the rock with Ezekiel Elliott. Dak Prescott will not face a lot of interior pressure, you would think, with these elite players at center and guard respectively. And also with play action, you got the linebackers sucking up here and playing to the run, not playing to the pass. Dak's going to have some wide open receivers down the field, not the best receivers in the world, Allen Hurns, Deontay Thompson, Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley, the list goes on. But who cares? I mean, you're a receiver in the NFL, you should be able to catch, especially against one-on-one coverage. I don't care who the heck you are, all right? Because if the Dallas Cowboys stick to the game plan of running the football effectively, doing the play action, and finding open receivers down the field off of that, they should be good on offense. Now, the defense. I'm excited about this D-line, actually. I like DeMarcus Lawrence a lot. From a football standpoint, also a personal standpoint, this guy's pretty cool. Why? Because he got the franchise tag and he didn't complain about it. He just said, you know what, I'll play on the tag, and my play on the field in 2018 will speak to how much I should be paid the following season and onward for the long-term deal. Now, the Cowboys and DeMarcus Lawrence have until July 16th to have that long-term deal solidified, but DeMarcus isn't rushing that, and that is just so refreshing to hear. It's not a Le'Veon Bell situation, which is just good. Great stuff. David Irving, I like him a lot. I think Crawford is a good player as well. I think he's a worthy defensive lineman, so that front four is not all that bad. And in terms of a linebacking core, this could low-key be a top 10 LB core in the NFL. Because you got Leighton Vander Esch, right? We'll see how he develops. Sean Lee, let's pray to God he has a 16-game season because he's an elite linebacker when he is healthy. And Jalen Smith, we're still waiting a little bit on Jalen to emerge, but I think he can, and the Cowboys invested highly in him, so you would expect, at least in theory, that Jalen Smith will eventually pop. So that's why, you know, you got the Cowboys as a breakout team, but the breakout within the breakout could be that linebacking core there for Dallas. And then I am really excited about this secondary here. Byron Jones playing cornerback. Gotta love it. Jordan Lewis, Chidobe Awuzie, they're fine players as well. Xavier Woods could come into his own in 2018. But to put a bow on the Dallas Cowboys, like I said, game plan. If they run the football well, which they should, and that's what I'm banking on here, and Dak can be an effective quarterback on the play action to the likes of Allen Hurns and maybe even Michael Gallup, haven't mentioned him yet, that rests your defense, keeps your defense fresher, allows the likes of DeMarcus Lawrence and others to tee off on these opposing quarterbacks and let that secondary ball out. I think Orlando Scandrick moving on could have been a huge blessing in disguise for Dallas because I think that opens up the opportunities for some of these young players in that secondary, and a secondary I like a lot. Certainly not to the Rams or to the Chargers level, but top 13, top 14 potential in terms of pass defense. So Dallas Cowboys, my number 5 breakout team for 2018. Let's continue on here. My number 4 team, we've got the Oakland Raiders. So this was a team that had Super Bowl expectations going into 2017. How'd they finish? 6-10. So now they're flying a little under the radar. And if you guys listen to my Cowboys analysis here, you can probably tell I'm a big offensive line enthusiast. And we're talking about a talented front 5 for the Oakland Raiders. Donald Penn is still an effective tackle. Kelechi Osemele is one of the better guards out there. Rodney Hudson I like a lot at center. He's a top 10 center in my eyes. Gabe Jackson should be able to bounce back at guard as well. And then you got Colton Miller there at right tackle. The Raiders have one of the better pass-protecting lines in the National Football League. Yes, that front line did not play like it in 2017, but it's just too much talent for that front to struggle for the second year in a row. So I'm banking on that offensive line playing a lot better. Rodney Hudson will be a key part of that. You'll see his name in the key contributors list that will flash later in this little portion here. Rodney finished 6th, according to Pro Football Focus, among all centers. So pretty good ranking there. And then you got Derek Carr, who I just think has to bounce back. He has to. There is no way 2017 Derek Carr will show up again in 2018. He has the services of Jordy Nelson and Martavis Bryant, really capable receivers. Oh, by the way, there's Amari Cooper as well. Ryan Switzer comes to town. Maybe he could do some damage if the Raiders use him the right way. And then Marcel Aitman, nice 7th-round selection. We'll see what he can do on the outside. Carr is just 2 years removed from a 28 touchdown, 6 interception season. He can get back to that level. So what I am basically basing my logic on here with the Raiders is that we know what they can do because we saw it in 2016. Let's just pretend that 2017 is just one big anomaly, and 2018 will be more of 2 years ago. So that's kind of where I'm going here with the Oakland Raiders. Now, on defense, I do like the pieces they added there. Tahir Whitehead, linebacker there, I like him a lot. Rashawn Melvin at cornerback, really good player. Had an 85.7 grade according to Pro Football Focus a year ago. Carl Joseph is molding nicely at strong safety. And then that defensive line could very well register a lot of sacks next season. We're talking about Khalil Mack. Justin Ellis may not be a sack master, but he plugs up the interior. And then you got Arden Key, Mo Hurst. They're quality players on that front line that should make some noise coming out of the draft. And Bruce Irvin, he's still got it going on at linebacker. So I like that front seven more than what people really are giving credit for. And can we just mention that Chucky is in town as well? John Gruden is here. And this guy didn't come out of retirement to work on a project. He came out of retirement and signed with the Oakland Raiders. Sure, it was a big fat contract and a lot of money, but he could have done that with ESPN. He sees something in this Oakland Raiders team. So who am I to say that John Gruden is wrong? So I'm buying into John Gruden and the investment that he is making in this Oakland Raiders team. And I'm telling you what, the Raiders could be a breakout team in 2018 because, by the way, the AFC West is one big quagmire. I have no idea who is going to win that division. Could be the Raiders. Could be another team that I talk about later in this segment. But first, let's go to number 3 on my list. And we've got the San Francisco 49ers for a few reasons. Yes, the hype is real, and yes, I am buying into it. But the Niners addressed some major needs over the offseason. First of all, they solidified Jimmy Garoppolo as the franchise quarterback. His talent cannot be understated. He's a top 10 quarterback for 2018. I'll tell you that much. And then they go ahead and get Richard Sherman to help solidify things in that secondary, along with K'Wan Williams and Ahkello Witherspoon. That's a good group of corners. Jaquaski Tart, Adrian Colbert, solid safety tandem as well. Then you got the offensive line that should be better. Weston Richburg comes in at center. Very important for that blown zone blocking scheme there for Kyle Shanahan. Jonathan Cooper comes in at guard. I think he could start in week 1. Joshua Garnett has slimmed up a little bit, a little quicker, a little more agile on the offensive line. Laken Tomlinson is there as well. So the interior is not as bad as the situation was at the beginning of the offseason. So that helps a lot. And then Jerick McKinnon should have a huge year. He is going to get over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, probably more than 1,000 yards rushing, just because I trust Kyle Shanahan. I trust what he's going to do with Jerick, because the report was a couple of months ago, Kyle Shanahan was like fighting hard, outbidding the New York Jets to get Jerick McKinnon. So he really wanted him. He should use him the right way. Mike McGlinchey, by the way, should be a good player at right tackle as well. But the main premise behind this is that first name on your screen there. Jimmy Garoppolo, 7-0 as a starter, 12 touchdowns, 5 picks with a career 67 completion percentage. Top 10 talent, will be a top 10 quarterback in 2018. He's got plenty of weapons around him with Pierre Garçon and Marquise Goodwin and Trent Taylor. They're all there. The situation is there for Jimmy G to thrive. So I've got the 49ers as my number 3 breakout team. Let's go to number 2 on the list here. And we will remain out west because I've got the Los Angeles Chargers, and this is all despite really the Hunter Henry news. It's tough news, but I'm still going to keep the Chargers on my list here. And actually, I like their defense a lot, more so than the offense, because they have the perfect modern-day defense. If you watched my top 10 defenses of 2018 segment, I talked about how the Chargers have the defense to beat prolific offenses because they have the edge rushing duo of Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, two elite players. Then you got the cornerbacks with Trevor Williams and Casey Hayward and Desmond King as well, coming off a really good first year. Secondary is solid. Edge rushers are solid. Got to beef up a little bit on the interior, especially in run defense. But I do like the defense a lot for LA. Phillip Rivers, obviously on the back nine of his career, but he has the pieces around him to make a run. You've got Melvin Gordon, a top 5 running back. Keenan Allen, like clockwork, turned out 1,400 yards roughly last year with 6 touchdowns, and I feel like none of us talked about that. So we got a full healthy season from Keenan Allen. That should be the case in 2018 as well. Hopefully Mike Williams sees a bigger role at the wide receiver position. And the offensive line, especially that interior with a couple of young guards getting better, should be in good shape as well. So we've got the Chargers on my list here. Talked about how the AFC West is going to be a challenge. I actually think it's going to come down to maybe the Chargers and the Raiders for the AFC West crown. Maybe Denver sneaks in there, maybe the Chiefs as well. But, I mean, this is going to be a dogfight. So should be fun to watch at that. Let's go to number 1 on my list for top breakout teams for the 2018 season, the Tennessee Titans. Now, hold on, YouTube commenters out there. I understand that the Tennessee Titans made the playoffs last year, but if you remember at the beginning of my segment, I talked about how breakout teams, for the definition of breakout for me, they don't necessarily have to miss the playoffs the previous year. So the Tennessee Titans, by the way, had no business making the playoffs in 2017 because my Baltimore Ravens deserved every inch of being in the postseason, but I digress. Titans, great offseason. They get Malcolm Butler, helps a lot in that secondary. Dion Lewis as well at the running back position, along with defensive tackle Benny Logan, providing some good depth there. Rashaan Evans, what a draft that was for the Tennessee Titans, getting that linebacker, and Harold Landry, by the way, at incredible value. Head coach Mike Vrabel, former linebacker himself, should be able to have a field day with the pieces on that defense, and I'm telling you, the Tennessee Titans will be top 10 in run defense for sure. Probably going to be top 10 in total defense as well because of that front seven and addressing that secondary as well. Derrick Henry, Dion Lewis should be a very fun 1-2 punch at running back. And then you got Marcus Mariota coming off that play action there to the likes of Corey Davis, Rashard Matthews, Delaney Walker. Those receivers won't scare you per se. But if you got the play action working right and they're wide open down the field, that's all you can ask for. So the Tennessee Titans, my number 1 breakout team for the 2018 NFL season. Let's summarize the entire list here. Tennessee checks in at 1. We got the Chargers at 2, 49ers at number 3, Oakland Raiders at number 4, and the Dallas Cowboys are there at number 5. Which team will be the most successful next season? Let me know in this reaction poll here. Give me a like for the Cowboys, laughing face for the Oakland Raiders, heart for the Tennessee Titans, a wow face for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm buying into the hype with the 49ers. I like the Titans a lot. The Oakland Raiders should be able to get back to their 2016 form, and the Dallas Cowboys, I think, have the pieces to come out of nowhere and make some noise. Our resident Dallas Cowboys reporter right here alongside Tom Downey. Tom, how about that? Cowboys, breakout team.
The comments were fun.
I didn't actually see them. What were they?
The comments have been fun. There was a lot of Cowboys hate, and I actually don't necessarily disagree with that.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Tom
They're
Downey.
always overhyped.
Tom Downey alongside here to break down the 5 sleeper candidates from the NFL draft. So, Tom, we did 5 potential busts. We're going to go positive here.
Yes.
All right? So, first, let's define what sleeper means in your eyes, Tom. Take us through.
Like, it can't be a first or a second round pick because that guy's not really a sleeper. And I tried to ignore most of the round 3 guys. I did break my own rule and throw in a few exceptions, especially for fantasy purposes, because I think some of these guys could make big impacts this year. And these aren't necessarily guys that are going to be superstars right away or even have success in the NFL, but I think the upside's a little bit higher for where they ended up being drafted. So some lesser-known guys are included on here.
Okay, big-time opportunity for the first guy on your list here. Royce Freeman, running back for the Denver Broncos. C.J. Anderson is no more.
This is, again, kind of like cheating almost because it's Royce Freeman. Like, he had a very successful career at Oregon. I think a lot of casual NFL fans know about him. He was an early third-round pick, but I still wanted to include him because, A, I didn't think he was going to go quite as high as he did, and I think he could be your Jordan Howard type halfback who gets a chance to play early in his career and does really, really well. And you kind of look at what Denver has. They cut C.J. Anderson, and then even you just take a look at what they currently have on their depth chart at running back, and it's not really a bunch of guys to go, oh yeah, this guy's going to be the lead back.
Sure.
Now, I think Devontae Booker, as of right now, is the top back in Denver, but A, he's had a fumbling problem, and he's put about 3.6 yards per carry in his NFL career.
That ain't good.
That's not good. D'Angelo Henderson is more of a third down back in my eyes. David Williams and Phillip Lindsay, those guys aren't going to be options long-term for Denver. So I think you look at among the halfbacks that didn't go in the first 2 rounds, the guy that could become your big sleeper at the position, I think Royce Freeman makes the most sense, and I think he can be a 3-down back because he has a little bit more pass-catching value than, say, Jordan Howard did coming out of Indiana and now with the Bears. So I think Freeman, yes, there are concerns about the wear and tear on his tires and just how much workload he's had at college and now he's going to get some in the NFL, but I think the upside is definitely there for him to be rather quickly one of the better halfbacks in the NFL.
Is there a comparison to an NFL running back who had a big-time workload in college and then still had a long-term success in the NFL? Anything along that line?
I mean, you can maybe look at a guy like Jordan Howard who had a big workload at Indiana just for the 1 year, but a guy of Freeman's workload who was the guy almost each and every year he was at college, you typically don't find those players. And I think you saw it a little bit with Freeman. That's the big concern for me is that never quite reached his sophomore level again. Like after his sophomore, it's like, oh man, this guy's going to be a first-round pick, and then just never quite the same after that.
All right, Royce Freeman, a potential sleeper this season in the NFL. Let's go to the wide receiver position here. Michael Gallup for the Dallas Cowboys, and who knows, he could climb that depth chart, Tom.
It kind of falls into the same Freeman category, especially with Gallup, where everyone is hyping him up right now. Like, I saw a CBS report that said Gallup was going to win Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
Now, I'm not going that far, but you take a look at, okay, who's kind of a third or fourth or fifth round wide receiver that has a chance to make a big impact because of the way the team is set up right now, and it's Michael Gallup. I mean, we'll break down the Cowboys wide receiver depth chart, and it's bad.
It ain't scary.
I mean, it is one of the worst wide receiver cores in the entire NFL. Ooh, Allen Hurns is your #1 guy. Cole Beasley is your kind of close to dime a dozen slot receiver, even though I think he's pretty good. You got Gallup. Terrence Williams was not good last year.
He's got legal issues.
And has legal issues. Deontay Thompson can run fast in a straight line deep downfield. There's just no really #1 receiver. And if Hurns gets hurt again, do you have an actual #2 receiver either? I don't think so. So I think Michael Gallup, among these non-first and second round wide receivers, has a real chance to have that big breakout year where, look, he's not going to put up 1,000 yards receiving. He's just not going to do that. But he can put up 600 yards in his first year. And with the way the receivers drafted this year, that could finish top 2, top 3, if not higher, among rookie wideouts.
If you're Michael Gallup, you're probably really excited to be drafted by the Cowboys because you see an opportunity.
This is a great landing spot for Gallup. And look, Gallup is not the same freak athlete that even a DJ Chark was. He's not maybe as polished of a route runner as Calvin Ridley was, and he's very much above average in a lot of different areas. But I think that's a good thing for the Cowboys and a good thing for Gallup. I think he's going to have a very long career as a #2 wide receiver in the NFL.
All right, he's a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go to the third name on your list here. We will go to the defensive side of the ball. Tarvarius Moore, going to play safety for the 49ers at some point. Could be soon.
So this was a true pre-draft sleeper, and this is about where I thought he was going to end up going. And he went late third round, so again, I'll break my rule. But I think in the month before the NFL draft, a handful of people outside of Mississippi had heard about Tarvarius Moore leading up to this because great athlete, wasn't invited to the combine, had a really impressive pro day. Pro day got people to go back and look at, okay, how good was he actually on film? And there were a lot of flashes there. But I think Tarvarius Moore, of the notable safeties, is one of the bigger boomer bust guys in this year's draft because I like some of what I saw on film, but there were also moments I'm like, oh, this guy did not make the best plays. I thought his tape against FSU was very iffy in particular. But we're going to talk later today on NFL Daily about potential players who could be traded. And if you keep Tavares Moore at safety, all of a sudden, I think you see a good chance where you can make a deal there.
There's also been some buzz that they're transitioning him to maybe corner as well for a little depth play.
Which would be interesting, but I'd say keep him at safety. I think that's his best fit.
All right, Tarvarius Moore is there for the 49ers. Let's go to the linebacking core here for the LA Rams, and they need help there, Tom. We got Micah Kiser.
This falls into the Michael Gallup category of this is a player who might just get to be a starter almost by default, because the Rams, in the Wade Phillips defense, they just don't value inside linebackers all the time. That's why they traded away Al Ogletree to help before guys like Sue and Peters. So you bring in Micah Kiser, who I thought could have gone earlier than round 5, and look, he's not going to be a stud on all 3 downs. I don't think he's quite the athlete and the coverage guy to hold up on key passing downs. But as a 2-down thumper on the interior, that's where I think Kaiser's going to have success. And take a look at this Rams depth chart. Mark Barron, Ramik Wilson, Corey Littleton, and Bryce Hager.
Who?
Yeah, Littleton played a little bit more down the stretch last year for the Rams, and I kind of like Ramik Wilson, but I would not be surprised if we come out of the preseason and Mike Kiser has emerged as a starting linebacker for the Rams. They also have Tegary Scales, who I like at Indiana, but I think this is a prime example of the fit matters, because I think Wade Phillips will get the most out of Micah Kiser, and the chance to have success early is also a big factor, because the Rams, they just don't have enough at inside linebacker. When you got there, they're going to play 1-2 guys almost every snap, no matter what scheme they're in, be it a dime set or a nickel set. So I think the chance for Kiser, at least on first and second downs, is there, and he's going to be a tackling machine. That's what he was at Virginia. He's going to be a 2-down thumper, and that's not as highly valued as it once was in the NFL, but it's still something NFL teams need, and I think Kiser will be that guy for the Rams early in offense.
You know, it's a good point you make about Wade Phillips and linebackers, because, well, look at the secondary of the Rams, and look at that defensive line, and then you just say to yourself, it's okay to have below-average linebackers.
You got to go cheap in certain areas, be it in draft assets or just overall money spent. The Rams went cheap at inside backer, and it's going to be fine because the rest of that defense is so talented.
All right, so we got Kiser there for the Rams, and then we have Perry Nickerson, cornerback for the Jets. Wait a minute, is he going to beat out Buster Skrine?
I hope so, because I don't like Buster Skrine. I've never liked Buster Skrine as an NFL player, but he keeps getting work, and that's okay. Nickerson was maybe one of my more outlandish draft takes, where I said that I would rather have Nickerson than Dante Jackson. Now, NFL teams clearly don't feel the same way, and that's fine. I didn't think they were going to. I was a little surprised he fell to round 6. But Nickerson and Jackson, you look at like what they are on tape and on even just measurables, and they're very similar. Both are undersized, light guys. Nickerson and Jackson ran the same 40-yard dash time. I think Jackson might be a little bit faster, though, overall. Nickerson, though, has longer arms. And, oh, by the way, their ball skills, everyone take a drink, it's not even close. Nickerson had way more production in pass breakups and interceptions at Tulane than Jackson did. And I think of the guys that declared this year, Nickerson was the best kid out of the state of Louisiana among cornerbacks. So I would not be surprised if he takes over Skrine sooner rather than later. Robinson's an outside guy, so Skrine and Nickerson will compete on the inside. Now, there are a lot of bodies on the Jets overall at cornerback. So of these 5 guys I mentioned, if there's one that ends up getting cut this year, it's going to be Nickerson, because he was a 6th-round pick. They have Roberts, they have Burst, they have Clark, even guys like Jones and Coleman, who probably won't make the roster, but at least worth mentioning here, could compete with Nickerson. But I liked a lot of what I saw on film. 6 interceptions this year, and it was only like I think it was 13 for his entire career at Tulane. He's a really good player. I thought he was very much underrated. So he's definitely not the biggest name of this list, and he's definitely the biggest reach that I have on here. But I think of the potential defensive backs who I think we're taking later on day 3 even, I like Nickerson the most, and I know I was higher on him than everyone else, but I do think he's better than Dante Jackson, who I just don't like.
All right, well, let's summarize your list of sleepers here, Tom. We got Royce Freeman for the Broncos, Michael Gallup for the Cowboys, Tarvarius Moore for the 49ers, who could play a little corner as well, Micah Kiser for the Rams, Perry Nickerson for the Jets here. It looks like as we go down the list, the deeper we go.
Yes, I didn't want to just put 5 third-round picks. I did want to spread it out a little bit, so I wanted to have a 5th-round guy, 6th-round guy. I didn't really want to put a 7th-round guy in there, so I ended up putting Moore in instead of a 4th-round pick because he was a very late third-round pick.
So you think Freeman is the guy that probably burst the most, I should say.
Yeah, I'm doing my prep work for my Dynasty Fantasy Draft, and I have my eye on Royce Freeman.
Okay.
Now, because I'm not going to have the earliest pick, so I have to wait a little bit, but I think Freeman makes a lot of sense. I think Kerryon Johnson, who I love, but second-round pick does not qualify there. And then if you want a receiver, I think Michael Gallup makes a lot of sense there.
All right, best sleeper pick from the NFL draft. Be sure to submit your votes, folks. We got Royce Freeman, Micah Kiser, Tarvarius Moore, Michael Gallup. If Tom missed somebody, be sure to hit us up in the comments section.
And there are
as
many
well.
guys that are not included.
Yes, I mean, you could have made a list of like 50 guys, honestly.
Yeah. Really, every guy could be a sleeper.
Yes, in theory. Well, maybe not first, second rounds, but yeah.
Still.
All right, hit us up in the reaction poll. This is the Cam Rogers Show. I got Tom Downey alongside. We are presented by Autolist. Head on to Autolist.com. Get that car shopping done in a flash. It is worthwhile. Tom, I have it bookmarked on my computer because I ain't going to the car dealership anymore. I'm using Autolist.
Well, I got to buy a car, and Autolist is making my life much easier. Now, I can take my time on my car shopping, but I don't have to go to 18 different sites and find the same car.
Exactly. New and used cars, folks. Great website, and we thank them for sponsoring the Cam Rogers Show. I am Cam Rogers. That's Tom Downey. We're going to keep you on here for the final word, Tom. And folks, do you remember the Cristiano Ronaldo plaque that looked nothing like him? This is that 2.0. So Brandy Chastain, her plaque looks nothing like her. Like, it's not even close. So she is the soccer star from her famous 1999 World Cup goal to win it all for the national women's soccer team for the U.S. And Tom, that's nothing like her. I'm sorry. That's like, literally not her.
Like, the cheeks and the chin are just like so much wider than what it should be. I don't really understand it. Even the hair looks weird. It looks like they took the hair from like her angling down and the rest of the face was straight on. Like, there's way too much like of the line in there. I don't get it.
Well, she has her hair down in real life there, and I don't know where the hair is in that picture. Maybe in a ponytail or something, but like, that just doesn't match up. And of course,
why does her neck look like lettuce? Like,
honestly,
like
yeah.
There's like a little cut of just around her neck, and I don't get it.
There's some sort of vegetation going on in that plaque.
Real
There's
bad.
no doubt about it. And this, by the way, folks, was at the San Francisco Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. She was great on the field, of course, racking up 30 international goals for Team USA during her career, also a member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame. And this is how she is honored, folks.
What's up with the chin as well? Like, there's like the weird like snake line right in the middle of her chin that goes around. Like, I just don't get it, Cam.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Like, how do you build this and say, you know what, this is good. I'm proud of the work that I did.
It's kind of like
even her smile there is like, oh man, this is. I gotta
smile,
she's like,
but I gotta pretend that this was a great job, but it really wasn't.
I see John in the comments saying it looks like a man, and yeah, it kind of does. Especially because of the hair. Like, I just don't get it. It's
I do want to give a shout out to my guy Roland there in the comments section. I'm here. Did I miss it? Don't you worry, Roland. We're going to replay the show, but just for you, let's bring up my recap of my top 5 breakout teams for the 2018 season. I think you'll like this list, by the way. Glad you enjoyed your time there at the AT&T Byron Nelson. Of course, he won our tickets.
Good,
good. He tagged the Cam Rogers Show on Facebook, gave him a little love as well. All right, so top 5 breakout teams for the NFL season, one final time. Tennessee Titans, Los Angeles Chargers. We got the 49ers, the Raiders, the Cowboys. I'm telling you, Tom, watch out for Dallas. Why? If they stick to their game plan and things don't get out of whack, then I think they can make some noise.
But the NFL, things always get out of whack.
Do they? Yeah,
yes, they do.
So I am like predicating on many variables here that have to work out.
The Cowboys can absolutely make the playoffs, but playing in a loaded NFC, that's what gives me pause there.
Yeah. All right.
Like Dallas can go 10-6 and not make the playoffs, which is actually what I think is going to end up happening this year. I'm
sipping the Kool-Aid with the 49ers for sure. I think Raiders fans are going to love me after this.
I didn't bring my Kool-Aid today, by the way.
Yeah, you didn't.
No, Oakland fans hate us because we said
that Colton Miller
might be a bust.
Did not work out.
I love seeing the Titans on there though, Cam. Good work there.
Yeah, I'm
all aboard Tennessee.
Big time fan of the Titans. We're a big time fan of Autolist. We thank them for sponsoring the Cam Rogers Show today. Tom, appreciate you coming on, my man.
Anytime.
Harris Rubenstein will be on Friday morning. It will be the Harris Rubenstein Show for one episode, and then it's back to me. All right, folks. I'll see you next week.